Have you ever heard the saying that you can't teach a dog new tricks? I mean, most people believe that it's really hard to learn new skills when you're an older adult, or if you're older and you're trying to learn something new that it's really difficult to do. Well, I'm here to tell you, to break that myth from the principles of neuroscience, that there's actually no consistent evidence to say that is true. So on today's video, what I wanted to share with you was 4 reasons why you have actually an advantage as an older adult learning new skills. Okay, so the first advantage is that you have better circumstances. I mean, you're at a stage in your life where things are different compared to when you were younger, right? Maybe you have a family, you have dependents that are depending on your income, or they are looking up to you. You have different circumstances, you have a lot of life experiences behind you. And that actually creates an environment where it forces you to be more efficient in your learning, right? Because of more responsibilities. For example, if you have more responsibilities looking after a family, it forces you to be more efficient so that you can still continue to provide for them and you can show up in ways that your family needs you to. So let me give you an example. When I was after my PhD studies, I went on to do a fellowship in clinical neurology, like on the clinical side of neurology. And at that time, I was just a newly minted PhD student. I just graduated, newly doctor. And when I started my internship, I was sharing an office with an older gentleman. He came into the office, and he is a 65-year-old gentleman, and his name was Adrian. So Adrian, if you're listening to this, mad respect for you, and I miss you. Anyways, Adrian comes into the office, and I thought he was my professor. I thought he was one of the professors, like a collaborative professor. But he told me he was entering into this office. We were sharing an office together because he was starting his PhD. Here he was, a very seasoned business professional, very successful, and he created a lot of wealth for himself in the business world. And he's starting his PhD at 65. And I just finished mine, right? And so we had this discussion at great lengths on why he decided to do a PhD, what it was like for him. We were comparing experiences. And of course, he has adult children, right? He has grandchildren, and his wife are both, him and his wife were retired at the time. And we determined that the circumstances in which he was he was doing his PhD is very different from someone in their 20s and 30s, which is usually how people start doing their PhDs. And at that time, people in their 20s and 30s, they're doing their PhDs because they were depending on that to set themselves up for their career. But Adrian, he comes in, he's an older adult. It did not hinder his learning. And of course, needless to say, his background was not related to neuroscience or neurology. He was coming in from a business background. In fact, his degree was in physics, right? He's quite a physics major and completely new skill set. So it doesn't hinder you as an older adult learning skills. In fact, your circumstances serve to enhance that, especially because it gives you the drive to learn, right? Whereas you're not being forced to learn. And that is a great segue into the second advantage you have as an older adult. The second advantage is that it's choice versus expectation. Right? So if you look at that example I just gave, he was doing his PhD because he wanted to. Most people who doing graduate degrees start from their master's degree to their PhD. They do it because they feel that's what they have to do, or they ought to, because there's a dime a dozen master's degrees or a dime a dozen bachelor's degrees, and it seems like the next logical progression. That was my choice, right? That was my rationale at the time. I finished my master's degree and I decided, well, the next logical step is a PhD because I want to differentiate myself. And so when you're an older adult, your belief systems, your thinking process is very different, and that serves as an advantage, right? Another story I want to share was that growing up, I never had opportunities to take piano lessons, which was very painful for me because as an Asian individual, it's typical that you take piano as a child for at least 6-7 years or so until you get good at it, right? That's like a standard parental Asian parent requirement. I never had that opportunity. And as an adult, I always felt like that was missing and I wanted that experience. So during my PhD, here I am, PhD student, I went and I learned, starting from rudimentary level, music theory, and I hired someone and went to their home to learn piano. So when it came to take the final exams, I was literally in an elementary school classroom taking exams with other children who were between the ages of 5 to 8. So here I was, fully adult PhD student in this classroom, and you know what I realized was that I bet I'm the only one who wants to be there. right? So choice versus expectation. If it's your choice to learn as an older adult, it's actually very empowering, and you will do what it takes to succeed, right? And when you have that mindset, that's what you need to learn, right? Learning comes from setting the intent, and once it is choices over expectation, if it's choice over expectation, then you have the real intent to learn new skills no matter what. So if you're listening to this right now and you would like an opportunity to learn how to develop your career, how to have a greater professional influence, then I have something for you. It is a 4-day training series. So you get one new training every single day delivered to your inbox. And you want to learn how to develop your career, how to become a bigger and better version of yourself, how to become a career leader, then I invite you to visit careerrevisionist.com/training. I'll put it in the show notes as well. It's careerrevisionist.com/training. 4 days of training from me, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. The third advantage is self-awareness that you have will breed your discipline. And the advantage of being an older adult is that you have a lot of life experiences, and that comes with having self-awareness as well. In other words, you know your skill set, you know what's worked in your life, and you've been able to generate some successes in your career and in your life so far. So you know what works for you, and you know how you've been able to achieve those accomplishments. And so you have for yourself patterns of knowing what works, patterns of knowing what works for you, and also having the awareness to know what you're good at. Right? So you have a very detailed knowledge on what your true potential is. And this is really important when you go on to learn new skills, because the patterns you've learned, because now you know how you function, you already know what it takes for you to learn something new, you apply that into this new arena. And that is why being older is an advantage, because of that self-awareness you have and the learned discipline over the years. You had to have been disciplined to have the success that you have in your life. And so you're carrying through this discipline through having self-awareness. Right? And finally, the last advantage that I wanted to share with you about why it is better to learn as an older adult. It's definitely not, and it does not impede you, right? It does not hold you back. The last reason is because of proof of concept. Proof of concept. This last advantage segues from what I previously said about self-awareness. You're at a stage in your life where you've had the success that you've had in your career and life. It means that you've done it before and you can do it again, because you have proof of concept of success. Right? If you have had experiences, especially if you've had a lengthy career behind you, the reason why you've had it is because you've been able to prove yourself to the company or to the business that you've been part of, the various projects that you've run successfully, and you've got to where you are at now. Right? So that resume behind you is proof of concept. And there is no reason why you can't take that. And once you know that I can do it once, so therefore, why can't I do it again? That is very empowering. So that is why, as an older adult, the more proofs of concept you have, the stronger you have, the stronger your footing is to learn something new. Because when you compare that to, let's say, for example, someone in high school, and they're learning skills for the first time, they're trying to get comfortable and familiar with how they learn, right? The first time they learn something new is critical. It's mission critical, because that proof of concept will carry them through. It gives them the confidence, because it is confidence in the truth of what they've accomplished. But you, as an older adult, you've had this multiple times throughout your career path, and that's what makes it so powerful, and that's why it is an advantage. Now, I've just shared with you 4 reasons why it is advantageous as an older adult learning new skills. I'm going to give you one bonus. This bonus is from neuroscience. Right? It is common belief that our brains, the aging brain, is less flexible when it comes to learning new things. And I'm here to tell you that that is a myth. Because the science shows that as an older adult, actually our brains have a flexibility, and we call it neuroplasticity. And here's what it means. It means that when you are, it doesn't matter what age you are, our brains are able to be flexible and to adapt to new functions. But the only way it can do that is if you continuously give yourself new experiences, and if you continue to pursue new skills and new learnings, right? As long as you keep participating in those activities, your brain will remain flexible and it will adapt to the things you're trying to do. So let's say that you're an older adult and you're trying to learn something new, and it is something you've never learned before, right? Your brain is capable of creating new connections and formulating new synaptic connections to create that function, that new function, so that you are able to adapt and learn new things, right? And this has been proven in older brains as well. Right? So the old belief that when you're older, your brains are less flexible, it can't learn new tricks, that is false. So knowing that, be empowered to learn new things, but the process needs to be continual, right? Don't go too long without those experiences. It's very important. Consistency is key. Even in neuroscience, even in learning, consistency is key. So if you do develop for yourself a habit of constantly learning, constantly growing, because your value is there and you always want to improve, you always want to get better, then the science shows that your brain can remain flexible even at an older age. So I want to hear from you. If you like my content, give me a thumbs up, and remember to ring that bell below as well. Just click the bell below so you can subscribe to my channel and you'll receive notifications each time I upload a new video. I'd also love to hear from you. What did you learn today? Are you an older adult? Have you had those beliefs all your life that you can't teach an old dog new tricks? I'd love to hear from you as well. If you have any questions, drop them into the comments as well, and I'm happy to answer. Once in a while I do answer questions from my viewers, so please ask questions, ask away, and I would love to hear from you. So until next time, I'll look forward to hanging out with you in my next video.